is my first time. I'm just preparing for my job fair. I have a job fair coming up in July 30th, and I have 2,300 people joining. So
Oh,
teams
wow.
teams will not be enough. So I have to, find some other way. So live stream is going to be the way to handle this. So
Okay. Got it.
yeah.
Got it. Awesome. 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 And I will certainly share it. I'll share the information for the job fair.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. So we'll get started in a few minutes here. Just waiting for everybody else to join, and we'll get started. الصوت طلع؟ We're getting some folks joining on the teams. So I'll try to manage multiple screens here, so it's going to be awesome today. So by the way, Samer is an HR consultant and expert here local with me,
Awesome.
Ottawa. He's normally joining this as a panel. So if there is any HR questions, he can help and answer. Cool. How are you, Amin?
Thank you, Ahmed. This is a great initiative. I see that you're live also on LinkedIn. That's amazing.
Yes. Are you able to see it?
Yes, yeah, I'm putting it on the other screen.
Oh, okay.
That's
Cool.
amazing.
Cool. Is the sound clear on LinkedIn?
I can test it. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Morning, everyone.
Good.
How are you doing? All
Hey, Muhammad, how are you?
good, thanks.
Good. We'll get started in maybe one more minute. I'm just giving time for folks to join, but maybe folks will join us on social media now.
Yes, sound is very good on LinkedIn.
Okay, cool. Let me just make Ashley as spotlight. Cool, awesome. Okay, so let me start the recording and get started here. All right. Happy Sunday, everybody. Glad to have you with us today, and looking forward to this amazing call by Ashley Martin. She's an expert speaker. She's a communication expert and leadership professional. She holds a master's degree in educational leadership, and she's also been helping me and delivering multiple sessions with Microsoft community at the time when I was with Microsoft. Ashley brings a ton of expertise in her field, and will be definitely inspired by her talks and her wisdom. Just to give a quick feedback, this call today is streamed live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other social media. So if you don't want to be recorded, please feel free to exit. And this is part of Future Career Insights. My name is Ahmed Zayed. I'm an IT professional and a career coach. I've been helping people land jobs in the past few years in US and Canada through coaching, mentoring, volunteering, and workshops like this one. This Sunday call has been initiated since COVID 2020, and it's been running almost now since 5 years, helping people for free, answering questions, making it, a forum for folks to learn about their hidden gaps and what struggles or blockers they have in their career. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ashley. Welcome, Ashley. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, and hi, everyone. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, everyone who has um, put aside time to show up this morning. You could be still sleeping, or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. You could still be doing a lot of different things, but thank you for showing up and setting aside time to improve yourself and improve things for your career, it is a pleasure. So we are going to be getting into the right way, WRITE, clear and effective communication for the workplace. A couple of goals we have today. Starts out with asking a question. I love asking questions. So our guiding question right now is, how can we communicate in a way that is clear, that is effective, and allows one to stand out at work? So that's sort of the question that'll guide our time. Because the objective is, of course, to whether you are searching for a role, or you want to just do your best in your role, or you want to prepare for promotion. The objective is to sharpen your saw, and to make sure that you are as polished as possible, so that you can do the thing that you're set out to accomplish. So by the end of this session, you should walk away with three things: a better understanding of how to communicate clearly and effectively when pursuing a role, which helps you demonstrate confidence, professionalism, and self-awareness. Secondly, you should be able to communicate constructively and responsibly while actively employed. So we're going to look at the before, right? The during, and that's the actively employed. So fostering positive workplace relationships and addressing challenges with tact. And then the after. So that third piece looks like, what does it look like to communicate thoughtfully and respectfully when exiting a role? And that might be in exiting an organization, that might be a lateral move, that might be a vertical move. And along with that, maintaining professionalism and preserving future opportunities, because you just never know when something else may come back around. And sometimes some things come full circle. So we want to look at this question within the framework of, what do things look like before a particular role or transition? What does it look like? What does effective communication look like during that role? And then what does effective communication look like after that role, right? So whether it's an exit or a promotion or some sort of change. So with that being said, you probably wonder, well, who's this lady speaking to me? I'll tell you a little bit about me. I am a business owner, but prior to business ownership, I was in public education in the United States. I served in education for over 10 years as a classroom teacher, and then as an administrator. I was a data manager and also an assistant principal, and it came with many, many hats. A lot of my skill set and a lot of my responsibilities revolved around me doing a lot of coaching, development, and feedback for teachers and leaders and other staff members, and involved helping them understand how to use data to drive instruction. And then it also involved a level of training. So regardless of what initiative, I was always charged with, getting information, digesting it, regurgitating it, and making sure that the staff was on board. Simultaneously, I wrote and I write books. So I've self-published about 4 to 5 books. I've co-authored 2. They're in the category of leadership development or soft skills and or some inspirational content. So I've written, spoken, and trained and consulted for many years, starting off in public education. I love to travel. And I have a list that I want to go to internationally and look forward to it. By personality, I would be considered an ambivert, and that is the balance that is between extroverts and introverts. So I like my alone time, but sometimes I need to be, I also like my social time. And then writing is a part of my everyday reality. Since we are talking about communication, and that's one of our big focuses for this call, writing is a huge part of my everyday reality. And whether you know it or not, it might be a big part of yours. So enough about me. I want to hear about you. Let me know what's your current role, whether it's in the chat. If you want to come off of mute, you can do so. What's your current role, or what is the role you're hoping to land? What's the role you're hoping to get or preparing for? And then I would love to know what your favorite book is or who your favorite author is. So 2 questions. What's your current role or the role that you're hoping to get? And then who is your favorite author, or what is your favorite book? Too many to list. Okay, that's fair. And not all at once. And the reason I'm asking these questions is to get your mind stirred up about, and you're intentionally about what it is that you're seeking and where you will apply the information. As I share with all calls or meetings or presentations, let me know. I would say the same. Very important, right? So our speaking, how we present, and then of course our listening, extremely important. Now here's something else that's extremely eye-opening. According with this last data point, according to research conducted by U.S. firm Gartner, poor communication is responsible for 70% of corporate errors, right? So it's not, did this person like me or not? Is my boss like me or not? Do I like my team member or not? Or is it the copy machine? It might be, but guess what? A lot of error comes from not communicating. So what does all of that mean? Communication is extremely important. It helps us get things done. It helps make sure that teams are aligned. It helps make sure that there's shared alignment between an organization's priorities and what departments are doing and what teams are doing. Extremely important. It helps the morale of your team or your department or the culture of your team. And it actually helps and contributes to your well-being, to all of our well-being, right? So extremely important, and we want to make sure that we're staying at the top of their game, at top of our game. So what do we do about it? I'm going to share with you 3 keys to help you stay at the top of your game when it comes to workplace communication. Now, here's some considerations, and you probably know all of these already, but just some reminders. We have primary modes of communication. One, our verbal communication, so what we say, how we listen, our verbal communication, our body language, right? How we stand, our poses, if we're doing this, uh, if our eyes are closed, if our arms are folded, all of those things, our facial expressions can share a lot, whether it's a smile or if it's a stoic look, and our hand gestures. How we communicate comes off in different manners. But during this time, we will focus mainly on written communication. Humble said this in 2021 after a survey they did. The emails are reported to be the primary method of workplace communication for as many as 74% of working adults. That is a big change in how things have been in the past, where email wasn't a thing. That might have been what, we refer to as snail mail or letters or handwritten letters or memos or telegraphs, right? But email makes up for 74% of communication for working adults. And I would probably argue it's now 2025. If they've done a more recent study, I believe that number would increase, right? I believe that would increase. I also want to reiterate the fact that, again, 55% of global recruiters believe that verbal communication is the most important skill, followed by those presentation skills. Presentation skills involve, which is 47%, involves writing, right? It involves reading. And so those are some things we want to consider as we look through these keys. So the first key is do your homework and take notes. May seem simple, but let's look at it a little deeper. This is what you want to focus on before seeking a role, or even while you're in a current role and perhaps you want to do well and make sure that your next opportunities are lined up and they're as successful as possible before you begin a new role. That may look like how you prepare for an interview. That may look like how you prepare for an upcoming job fair. And remember, there will be a job fair on July 30th. If you haven't signed up, make sure to sign up. That may look like what you experience in unexpected encounters. Maybe you're at the coffee shop one day, or maybe you're at a restaurant and you meet somebody. Maybe you're hanging out at a friend's home or a relative's home, and you meet somebody and you all start talking, and one thing leads to another, and you start talking about work, and it opens up a certain door. You want to make sure with any of those scenarios and situations that you're doing your due diligence and that you're researching the company. And a couple of things that I would recommend that you all look for. One is there values alignment? Is there values alignment? Two, is it something that you can not only give and do well, can you do well and give to the company, but what can you also receive from the company as well? So some of those things to consider, does it match the criteria? Is the salary right? Is it conducive to the sort of lifestyle or career path that you have and that you desire? So some of those things to consider. You want to do your due diligence and research the company. Take notes and highlight the important things. I also recommend writing it down. Write it down. Our brains, we have so much information. There's information overload. Write it down when you need to. If you have a good memory, that's awesome. But again, I just will reiterate and caution, write your question down. Write your questions down. Write your compliments down as well. Because sometimes people want to hear, and it's good to point out the things that people are doing right, things that people are doing well. And of course, the things that you can solve for. But if there's some highlights, if there's some glows, if there's some compliments, write them down and make it a point to share that. And then if you have any feedback, you want to write that down. Second thing that has to do with doing your homework and taking notes is, to have your resume ready. But something some people have started to do that I would love to share with you if you're not already. We have our technical skills often on our resume. Make sure that you highlight your soft skills as well. Your power skills, your human skills, those things that you do well. If you're an awesome organizer, make note of that somewhere. If you are very good at rallying people and bringing the team together and helping teams calibrate and collaborate, make note of that. If you are really good at helping people stay organized, make note of that. Right? Because recruiters are looking for well-rounded packages. You want to make sure you do that. And then another thing you want to consider for your resume, you want to make sure that your resume has legible font, that it's a good size, I don't know about you all, but since I crossed that 40 mark, I have had to make sure that my eyes adjust accordingly. And there's certain things that before I could not, I could see well. And then there's certain things I pay attention. I'm like, oh, I have to enlarge this size. So you want to make sure it's a good size. It doesn't have to be super big, but you want to make sure it's a decent size. You want to use words that stick and clearly convey your value add. They clearly convey your value add, and where it helps, quantify, right? Where it helps, quantify. I provided 3 examples, and hopefully this can help and will help somebody as you're looking over your resume and seeing what it is that you have. So here's the first example. A person has advanced beginning programmers from level 1 to level 3 within 9 months, right? If you're on some sort of team performance review or appraisal system, if you've helped advance other staff members and other colleagues and help them grow, that is a mark of leadership. That is a mark of progress and productivity. And recruiters are looking for that, right? And then giving that time frame matters to certain people as well. And I would love to hear if you all would add or enhance these, what would you include? So if you have any feedback, don't hesitate to leave it in the chat. Example 2 looks like this. Coached and trained 170 staff on how to use data software program, right? That's speaking to a couple of things. You have the ability to coach. You have the ability to train. That's a good number of people. And you show them how to use a particular program. Again, adding value. Adding value. And then the next thing. And final example. Co-led department meetings with senior manager bi-weekly with 25 employees that boosted staff morale, ensured department alignment with the organization's annual priorities, that resulted in 98% of department goals being met within the designated time period. Now, you might rework this, you might wordsmith it, maybe break it into sentences, but I hope you get the gist of what this last example is. It's showing the ability, again, to collaborate, to lead. It's giving some time references. It's letting a recruiter or hiring manager know how many people you were able to support and what it did to help not only that person's particular team, but the organization as a whole, right? So just an example. Any questions, comments, or concerns about this particular key or some of the nuggets that were shared here? Don't hesitate at all. All right. So let's look at this next thing before we go on to the second key. And this is the question for reflection. What method of communication do you or have you or will you engage with the most? Is it email? And this is written communication, handwritten notes, and think about your day-to-day role. Contracts or agreements, right? Articles or technical documents, presentations, or something else. If you could just let me know in the chat, or you can come off of mute. Email, A, B, C, D, E, or F. Is it email, handwritten memos or notes, contracts or agreements, articles or technical documents, or presentations, or something else? What are you engaging with the most? Okay. All right. Email and something else. Email and other things. Okay. All right. So it seems like, again, that email is all, that's some of our our bloodline right there. Email, contracts, technical, okay. Instant messenger. Thank you for sharing that, Lisa. Right. So there are things like, IMs, DMs, there are things like Slack, right? Other ways of communicating that we engage with, and they all require writing and reading, right? So let's look at the second key that's going to help us with most of these modes of communication, the methods of communication. And there'll be a few things that I'll highlight concerning what's effective for these. So here, again, the objective with this particular key is to help us communicate constructively, right? and responsibly while we're actively employed. What does that do? It fosters positive workplace relationship, and it helps us to address challenges with tech. I don't know about you, but you all know there's so much going on right now, so much that we are all navigating, so much that's happening, and to do things and communicate with tact is most ideal. So, first point for this particular key, which is read and review to get your point through. May seem redundant. Hopefully it's not. We want to read and review to get your point through. What does that look like? Learning your organization's communication standard or the role that you're seeking. Learn how they do things. Learn their culture. Learn, be abreast of where you currently are, how things are communicated. What's the standard? That's good for so many different reasons. Again, it ensures alignment. It ensures that you're able, there's improvement that's able to take place. Because when you know something, you know whether it's working or not, and you know whether it needs to be fixed or not. Good question. And if you don't have communication standards, well, that's when I would say let your inner leader shine out. And that would be ample opportunity for you to perhaps suggest something and be a good solutionist and a good problem solver. Thank you for asking that question. I think that would be a prime time and a very good opportunity for you to ask questions and for you perhaps to help establish some sort of standard, right? And if what you know is good and what you know works, I would say go for what you know that works. But again, I think Lisa, that's a good opportunity for you to bring that to somebody's attention. To bring to somebody's attention. If those standards have been spoken or written or just something that you notice. Again, it would ensure and enhance team alignment. It would ensure that people are on the same page, and it would help with any sort of miscommunication. So I'm glad you asked that question. Secondly, we want to read and read again, especially the fine print, the terms and conditions. Read it again. Sometimes you have to take a second look, just like sometimes you have to have a second cup of coffee or a second cup of tea. I'm a tea drinker, so sometimes I need that second cup. Sometimes we need to read things again, and sometimes again, because we want to make sure that we are understanding clearly. And if there is something that we need to share, we want to make sure that we're getting our point across clearly as well. So you want to look at that fine print. You want to understand the terms and conditions. Next thing, you want to proofread and edit your communication. Challenge over. Other extreme. Okay, we'll get to that, Zayed. Thank you for sharing. We want to make sure that we're proofreading and editing our communication. Essentially, really awesome. And I'm sure that military background comes in handy. Extremely handy. Extremely important. So we want to proofread and edit our communication as well. And so let's see, looking at overdoing all of these three things, I think there might be something there. When you say you're overdoing it, there might be something there. There might be something there. Say maybe it's time for, if you haven't, and maybe it's time for you to be promoted. If it seems like you're doing too much, maybe what it sounds like is that there's capacity there. Or if you feel like there's an extreme, there might be something that you need to get out of your system, so to speak, to help somebody else. If that makes sense. It sounds like you have a lot of capacity. If you're mastering all of these things, all three of them. And then if it's not that, and if it is that you need to maybe set a boundary in those areas, try considering that, right? Or giving yourself some sort of limit, like, hey, I'm only going to do this for 30 minutes, or I'll address this 1, 2, or 3 times. Or I'll address this 4 times, and that'll be it. But you don't want, especially with the last one, proofreading and editing your communication, you don't want to veer off into perfectionism. I do believe in excellence. I do believe in quality, especially high quality. But we want to make sure that I hope that it's not deterring you from putting your best work out there, right? for putting your best work out there. If there is something that has to do with that may hinder you, hopefully there's not a hindrance there. So proofing and editing your communication, you'll know when you get to that point that, hey, it's good, it's solid, and you can move forward. So maybe this next point will help you with that. Getting a second set of eyes where necessary. I think that might help with that. It's something that works. It's effective. Sometimes we have looked at something so long and so much to the point where you can't look at it anymore, right? And so perhaps that second set of eyes, going to a trusted colleague or whomever your go-to advisor or a friend or relative even, and asking for a second set of eyes, like, hey, can you review this? What do you see? They'll help you see what you overlooked. They'll probably help you see some things that were overlooked or where there were some gaps or something that you didn't notice. So make sure you get a second set of eyes where necessary. Third, possibly. Also, you want to let your good voice and personality shine through, right? We're in AI age. I'm grateful for the resource, but we are still very human. We are still very human. And so one way to overcome some of the frustration that there is with AI, I think and I believe, is letting your good voice and personality shine through, even in not only your spoken, but especially in your written communication. So what does that look like? Including being as pleasant as possible where possible. And then also, in information overload age, you want to be as clear and concise as possible. So where you can, which is not to stifle your written communication, but there are certain instances where being concise is a win. It's a big win. So you want to try to be as concise, and you want to be as pleasant as possible. So Zayed, hopefully that helps with some of those things. When you get to that point, saying, hey, I've overdone all of this, let me get another set of eyes on it. And I believe that will help shift and move you forward. Another thing to remember here, the fortune is in the follow-up. This is whether you are seeking a role. This is whether you are currently in a role and you are looking to get stuff done. You want to move the needle with something you're working on. And this is if, you're ready to move. The fortune is in the follow-up. Remember all the resources that you have to make things, again, as polished, professional, and getting things accomplished as possible. Again, AI is one of those things. One of the things that, and I'm sure you all have probably been to trainings on AI. I've attended some learning sessions myself. The biggest reminder here that I would love to share with you all today is to use it ethically. And one other thing I've noticed about AI, you being as specific in the prompts is what helps you the most. You need to be very specific in the prompts when you're using certain things. And that's one of the things that I love about it. It'll ask you, well, can you improve? Would you like me to improve whatever it is that you're looking for? If you need help drafting let's say a team meeting letter, please draft a team meeting letter, and you provide the information. Being as specific as possible helps when it comes to the use of AI, whether you use Copilot or whether you use ChatGPT or whether you use Gemini, how AI is integrated in other platforms. Be specific. Another resource I'd love to share with y'all is Grammarly. So if you are one that works on presentations and documents and you write a lot, Grammarly can help you tremendously with grammar. Then, the name is very telling. I'll leave the website in the chat for you. But Grammarly is very, very helpful in helping you with the conventions of grammar, helping you with language, with sentence use. It'll give you a breakdown of the number of words that you have, and it'll also tell you, this is a feature that I love, the time it'll take if you speak whatever it is that you're writing, but also the time it'll take to read it. Okay. Since time is of the essence and time is important, that's a nice feature. But you want to make sure you're using all these resources in your follow-up. That fortune is there. Whatever it is, that fortune is in the follow-up. So that's another thing. Any questions, comments, or concerns about this particular key? All right. Well, we're going to move on to the next one. And last but certainly not least, right? So we've looked at doing key number 1, using your homework and taking notes. Key number 2, reading and reviewing so that you get your point through. And the last one is always say thank you. Always say thank you. Maybe a given, but I believe a timely reminder. And what this will help us with is, again, understanding how to communicate thoughtfully and respectfully when exiting a role or when transitioning from one role to the next, which allows us to maintain professionalism, and it preserves future opportunities. You never, ever know when a moment may come back around. I never thought in a million years that I would one day be a leader with people that I was once teaching with in a different place. That happened in real life. I never thought that would happen. But I do believe sowing good seeds and positive things helped with that. I never imagined that. But it happened. And so you just never know what may come down along the line. You may end up working, for an organization that you left before, maybe something different, something new. You may start a new venture. You may see them in a different arena. You never know. And there are new people that you might meet, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing our best to preserve good future opportunities. So what does that look like on the ladder and after, work is done or during an exit or a transition? Where possible, do your best to maintain a positive and thankful attitude. I understand that there are situations where things may not have been the best. Maybe things turned sour. Maybe things, maybe there was hostility in a particular work environment. Do your best to be as positive as possible where you can. And sometimes positive looks like just being quiet about it. Sometimes positive does mean speaking up in a tactful way. You have that good judgment within you. So use your good judgment. Just a reminder, where you can and when you can, be as positive as possible. When it comes to any sort of move or exit or, transition, there's always a level of not only communication, but adjustment that you have to make, right? Adjustment. And so one of the keys to smooth transitions is that positivity, but also asking those questions, making note. Again, here's where writing stuff down or taking note, whether it's, or using your AI assistants, making note actually helps. Think of the things. What would you do? What could you do? And what would you do differently? Right? Some considerations. Make notes of those things, because those things become living, breathing documents that'll help you in the future. And if you're a leader and perhaps even a mentor, it'll help you with others. Right? These are some things you want to consider as you're exiting. Right? These are some things you want to consider as you're transitioning. These are some other things. So it becomes a living, breathing document that you can go to for reference, and you never know when you'll need it one day. Another thing, a thank you email or note is also a very good move, right? So, and sometimes a gift, it depends on, again, here, it depends on what the terms are, what the, policies and protocols and procedures are within your organization. Sometimes gifts cannot go beyond a certain dollar amount. But a simple thank you note or email is sufficient. Thank you for the opportunity to have worked here. Share with them perhaps what you gained. Do a little recap of what it is that you've offered, right? Because they also need to know the things that you accomplished while there, be reminded of, rather, the things that you accomplished while you were there or in that particular role. And if you have any feedback, leave that feedback. Always, again, positive tone. Like and one of the go-tos, that's a standard. Some people use the sandwich method. Positive feedback. If there's some sort of area of improvement, you can sandwich that in, and then another positive feedback. Again, use your good judgment. You'll know exactly what you need to share. But thank you notes, emails work wonders. They will remember a lot of things about you, but it's often said people remember how you make them feel. I believe there's a lot of truth to that. I don't think it's the end all be all, but there is a lot of truth to that. And so, consider saying thank you. And then again, where you need to leave any sort of feedback for them, leave that in a tactful way. And then get creative. Get creative. What else could you possibly share? What else could possibly help you in the forms of written communication as you exit or transition? Is it a job aid for who is coming behind you? One of the things that was never done in that particular data manager role, that wasn't a role that existed. That was a position that was created for me. And so I was charged with co-creating with my then supervisor and boss the roles and responsibilities and all those different things. In my exit towards my next role and my promotion, I had to leave the blueprint, so to speak. So in your thank you could possibly be like, hey, these are all the things that you may not have known that came with my role, and I want to leave this for the next person. So it might look like a job aid. It might look like something updated in the procedural manual. It might look like questions that the hiring manager should consider if they're looking to fill your place in your space, right? It might look like that. So get creative. And again, use your resources to help you. You have Grammarly, we have ChatGPT, we have Microsoft Copilot, we have Gemini, and we have each other. We have each other. Don't forget that second set of eyes. And again, maintaining a positive tone. So as we wrap this up, one of the concluding thinkings and questions I have for you is, how is your communication right now? How's your written communication especially? And this is a reflective question. If you want to share, don't hesitate. How's your written communication? And then what's the one thing that you can do that'll improve it? What one thing can you take from this time and improvement? Communicating the right way puts you on the right foot. And again, it allows for alignment. It allows for work to get done, and it facilitates work getting done. And that is, what you are all in the business of. Whether, you're helping somebody, hats off to you, helping with IT, helping with all of the technical things, and leading all of these things that are so important, so crucial, especially in this time period, especially in this era, especially with, just what's happening right now nationally and globally. So thank you for doing that. But ask yourself that question: how can I improve my written communication? What's the one thing you're going to take? The one thing you're going to take away. And if you have the one thing in mind, I would love to know what it is. And you can leave that either in the chat, or you can come off from mute and share. What is the one thing you're going to do and implement? If it's the committing to finding a second set of eyes partner, if it's you want to commit to using Grammarly or using your AI tools a little bit better, if it's, hey, I'm going to start making note of all the things that I do in my job, so then when some of my colleagues have questions, I'll have a reference guide or a job aid. What's the one thing you're going to do? I'm going to reread those things. Got it. Working on being as concise. So, and one thing I have done, because again, as a natural writer, one of the wasn't skepticism. Maybe it was a little bit of fear, but one of the things I was concerned. That is the word. Thank you. One of the concerns I had about AI was maybe losing my own writing flow. But what I found is that where appropriate, it helps with enhancing a few things. right? So I've used it as a form of a way to proofread or enhance things, writing that I want to enhance if I don't like the way that it sounds. And it's actually helped. It's actually helped. You know, it's helped clear, it helped clarifies a lot. And it helps with being concise. It'll help you give you, you know, different wording and all of those different things. So with that being said, I'm going to open up the floor for questions. I do have some resources for you all. If you would like another free interview resource, you can just scan a QR code. There's a one-page document where you can get some things that, you know, that'll help you prepare for interviews. If you need support and you would like to reach out for a coaching section, there's a special right now, just $60 for an hour, $1 a minute. If you want to help, if you need support practicing for interviews, if you need help with transitioning, you're more than welcome to take advantage of those two opportunities. And if you just want to reach out and say, hey, I have a question about this, I have a question about that, don't hesitate. I'm open to answering questions. I have been on hiring teams. I've been a part of interviews. I've been, you know, on both ends. You know, was just recently helping some young people with interviews as they were finishing up school. So that's a free resource for you all. And if you want to take advantage of that special, that's open to you too. And that'll be good for all of the month of July.
Awesome.
So any questions?
Awesome, Ashley. Again, thank you so much for doing this, and really appreciate all the wisdom that you shared and all the insights. And very happy to have you with us today. So again, guys, if you have questions to Ashley, this is your chance to ask questions. Zayed, I see you raised your hand. Please unmute your name, role, and location, and your question, please.
Yes, hi guys. My name is Zayed. I go by Zafar. And location Texas in US, and application developer. So Ashley, thank you, great session. And first of all, Ahmed, thank you so much for you keep giving us value with these amazing sessions. Thank you. Don't thank you enough. And thank you, Samar. Good to see you again. Ashley, the main question I have is, so I'm fortunate to be in a new role, okay, and I have 2 decades of experience, kind of similar to Ahmed, okay. So in the new role, so one of the thing, like you mentioned, sharpening the saw, right?
Right.
One thing I struggle with is crisp verbal updates, okay. And on the written side of it, I try to be perfectionist, so I take so much time, you know, editing. Like even when I was asking you the question earlier, go back, edit, make corrections, no typos. So I take so much time that the team moves on sometimes on the topic. So number one question, how can I be more crisp while giving verbal updates? And any more advice on written responses?
So more crisp on verbal updates. I would ask you this question. How would you rate yourself as a listener on a scale from 1 to 10? Of being able to listen, like, you know, how would you rate yourself as a listener?
7.
A 7. Okay. That's good. That's good, because listening seems to be a lost art that we have to, you know, help people with now. That's very good. So to move from let's 7 to say 7 to an 8, I would say this, and I believe this will help you with your verbal responses. Write down what it is that you hear people saying that you need to respond to. Or do you take notes?
Oh, yes, if you allow me. So yes, I'm obsessive note taker, and that gets in the way. So when I'm listening, I am I really do not like confrontations and, you know, like being put on the spot. So as people are talking to me, I'm paying attention, but I'm also like struggling. How do I respond? What do I respond? You know, so that it feel like comes in the way for me.
Got it. Okay. Again, I would say start taking notes of the most important thing. It seems like you're, how do I put this? And this is something that's developed over time. There's are you one that you pay a lot of attention to detail?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. And so
and also when replying, actually on the same lines, I am afraid of leaving out important detail, or mentioning something on the fly that's not actually true. Like I'm not bluffing or not doing anything wrong, but just being put on the spot. Yeah, I hope that makes sense what I'm trying to say.
It does, right. It does. Being able to respond better to people. Again, until you're able to get to that point where you don't have to take notes, I would say make note, and then look at what's the most important thing. Like, what is the thing that will take care of all of the other things? Let's say, what is that one? It's sort of like getting to the root or the thing that's overarching. Because sometimes when you're listening to people, you hear all of the details. I'm hearing, you want to respond better. You want to write better. You want to just be overall better, communication and responder. What is the one thing that you can start focusing on? If there are multiple things, what's the one thing that might take care of all of that, right? So if that is when you are listening to people and you're writing down all of your notes, what's the most important thing you need to listen for? And address that first. What's the most important thing? And then, because it's communication's not, sometimes it's one size fits, it's not one size fits all. But there are many different layers. When it comes to your verbal, it starts with that. In responses particularly, it starts with that listening. And listening for what people aren't saying is important, but I wouldn't focus on that right now for your particular question. I would make notes like you're doing, and then from those notes, of what you have, what's been shared with you, what is like perhaps the most important thing that can probably take care of some of the other things, right? What can take care of some of the other things? So maybe probably like sort of prioritizing your details, prioritizing the things that are pressing in what you're hearing, and then from there, you'll be able to respond better. It takes time to get as concise as possible. You start doing that. But I believe that refocusing your priorities once you're hearing people, focusing like this is the most important thing that this person needs to hear right now, and that'll help with your responses. And even if you need to give yourself a time limit, say, hey, like I'm only going to respond to this for 1 minute. Do that. Okay? That should also help your written communication too. And when you need to again, don't hesitate to use your AI tools. Hopefully that helps. I'm going to drop this and you're welcome. I'm dropping this in the chat as well. This is that reference to the interview guide. You can all just click on it. And it'll take you right to there. Any other questions? And Zayed, as I find resources, I'll share them with Ahmed, and hopefully he can get them to you. If you want to send me your email, I can send you some things I have in my resource library.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat, so maybe I'll start asking questions myself, and maybe Samer can ask questions too. So I think there is a problem now, actually, that some people use AI too much, that they lose their communication skills in their interview or in their even writing skills, the grammar, as you mentioned, and other things. So
Right.
what would be the right way, again, to have that balance between using AI and staying human, staying empathetic,
Right.
authentic, and I don't know. Do you have any insights?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. That's an awesome question. I believe one of the ways to help strike that right balance between your humanity and AI when it comes to work is perhaps even designating what you will use AI for. Determining, hey, I'm going to use AI for this particular bucket of activities, and I'm going to keep this other activities out of AI. I've realized that my AI use forms is sort of leans and bends towards marketing material. I don't use it for a lot of like content development only to enhance. So you have to give yourself sort of parameters and boundaries. Okay, I'm only going to use AI for this, or maybe try it for something else. Not to be restricted, but consider, hey, I'm going to use my AI for this, and then if you're a writer, you work on documents or creating, presentations or guides or documents. Use AI last, not first, right? Use it second, maybe. Use it second and not first, so that your own writing and the writing, that you have in your own creativity in your own mind, won't get stifled. That's helped me tremendously. Hopefully it helps somebody else. I've seen it help other people. Use it second. Maybe it's your first go-to, first line of defense for something else. But if you don't want it to become a crutch in your flow of how you think and how you create on your own, go to a second. That's what I would say.
Yeah, thank you. Great wisdom.
You're welcome.
Samar, I see you raise your hand. Go ahead, Samar.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. Thank you very much, Ashley. Very, very informative session. I do have a question to allow us also to learn more from your experience. If someone is asking this question in a workplace, what are some of the effective communication strategies for dealing with a colleague who seems to dislike the person? So especially when they still need to collaborate with professionally.
That's a good thing. So how do you deal with perhaps people you don't necessarily like or get along with, how to engage with them? I would, make sure this is something a colleague who I miss dearly. I love her. I miss dearly. I enjoyed working with her. But this is something that we helped each other with. Because sometimes there are people you don't necessarily always enjoy working with, right? But you have to work with them. She told me this one piece of advice, and I'm going to share this with you. She said, you always want to make sure that your side of the street is clean. Make sure that your side of the street is clean. So what does that mean? All right? You want to make sure that, think about a house or houses or buildings, and you want to sweep around your own front door. You want to make sure that your side is clean, and that you are doing, essentially, that you're doing your part to be as professional and as positive as possible. I also believe in this, is that a way to fight fire is with water, not more fire, right? We put fires out with water, or extinguishers, not with more fire. So where you can, keep your side of the street clean, and then, as I would say, fight that fire with some water. How can you add to peace? How can you add to collegiality? When necessary, sometimes there are other things that happen that need to happen more formally. But I'm going to always veer on the side of what problem can be solved, what fire can be put out before going to some other formal level, right? So those, I would consider those two things.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Folks, any other questions to Ashley? Again, definitely lots of wisdom to share today and lots of insights. But again, I want to give you a chance to ask your questions, to unblock your challenges, and see how can we help you land your dream role. Okay, awesome. No questions so far. So I guess we'll leave it there today, and we'll just take a group selfie. Actually, that's our tradition here, as you know, from Microsoft
Awesome.
Days. So if you want to stop sharing your screen, and then we'll take
Sure.
a group selfie. For those who wants to join the selfie, feel free to come on camera and be ready, so that we can all have this shared on Facebook or LinkedIn or any other social media just for marketing purpose. So I'll just say, put the gallery mood. Okay, whenever you're ready, guys, I'll say 1, 2, 3 and smile. Okay, hold on. So 1, sorry. So 1, 2, 3, and smile. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you so much, everybody,
You're
for joining us
welcome.
today. And really appreciate the wisdom that you shared. And looking forward to have you again in multiple sessions in the future and support your journey as well, Ashley. If there is any final thoughts you want to share, please go ahead.
Do awesome. All the best on your journey ahead. Don't forget, write it down. When in doubt, write it down. When you need to write it down, get that second set of eyes. I have no doubt that you all will do well in whatever role that you have or whatever role that you're going for. And I hope that the right doors open for you in the right roles, and that you do well. So, keep moving, keep that side of your street clean, and fight any fire with some water.
Thank you. That's a great wisdom. That's a great wisdom. Take
No
care,
problem.
everybody. Enjoy the rest of the Sunday. And thank you so much again, Ashley, for doing this today.
No problem.
Take
Have a
care.
good one.
You too.
Bye bye.